Now we're all really looking forward to that wonderful carol service over here in the United Kingdom, which has been organised by, of course, the Duchess of Cambridge alongside His Royal Highness Prince William. And it's one of those spectacular events that could have been a huge success for the BBC. But there was one person, of course, missing that, when you think about it, should naturally have been on top of the A-list, particularly given the channel that this carol service is now screening on. But what's the background story to that? Well, as you know, this particular carol service was put together by Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge. A lot of time and effort has been put into that, and it was all really done to thank, of course, all those wonderful people who have helped so many during the pandemic. It was a real nice gesture, in fact. Lucky to be invited. As I say, it was spectacular just to go to Westminster Abbey and see it dressed so Christmassy at this time of year. Catherine, as you know, looked stunning at the event, and of course Prince William stood by very proud of what his wife had achieved. A lot of people sneer and make kind of, ill-fitting comments about things like this, but it truly does do a lot of good. Well, you saw a lot of the children that she spoke to on that early evening service. It was nice, it did mean a lot to them. And of course, a lot of those key workers that had endured so much during this terrible time, not just here in the United Kingdom, but around the world. It's very, very difficult for people right now. And I think these little sort of nuggets just cheer people up. It takes people's minds off it, even for just a short while. But it's interesting to note, isn't it? Because there were people, of course, that could have had a starring role in this particular production. And one of them really did kind of upset Catherine, I'm told. This is all because of a falling out due to the two ex-royals. Let me explain. As you know, earlier this year it emerged that a one-time close friend of both Catherine and William was put on the back burner, shall we say, to be polite. This was, of course, because of their, well, shall we say, involvement with the documentary with the ex-royals, Harry and Meghan, particularly that tour that took place in 2019 across Africa, if you remember that one. This is, of course, the star reporter for ITV, Tom Bradby, who, of course, was the person interviewing Harry and Meghan throughout that tour. What's interesting about that is, we found out afterwards that Harry and Meghan both knew a lot of the questions in advance that he would be asking. So when, of course, he famously asked Meghan, how difficult has it been, she did have a chance, of course, to at least reflect and get the emotional face right, allegedly, right? Now, according to a very good source, Catherine did kind of wonder whether this might make a good time to try and possibly make amends with Tom. After all, he was the one that did their sit-down engagement interview. He does have a special place in her heart. She's a very forgiving person, as I've told you before. Now, I'm not quite sure who didn't want to invite him, or indeed who didn't want to make amends. I'll leave you to make that bit up yourself. But I think what's interesting is that he wasn't invited. And as I say, this channel, ITV, is the channel that Tom is the kingpin for. He is the nightly news anchor on our News at 10 bulletin. So it would have made sense, particularly for him, to be involved in such a high-profile show. Moving forward, it remains to be seen, of course, whether Catherine can coerce that kick-started friendship once again between His Royal Highness Prince William and, of course, his one-time chum, newsreader Tom. As I say, she's a very forgiving person and likes people to get on. And it does seem odd when you think about it that he is the main news anchor for that channel. It would have made perfect sense for him to give a reading or indeed be the co-host, but it wasn't to be. Moving forward, as I say, it does seem odd that even after all of this time, there's no reconciliation on the cards. Perhaps as ever, it could be left to Catherine to see if she could get both of the boys to at least start to speak on some form or other. As ever, when I know more, you'll know more. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.